At this moment, I'd like to bring forward Kieran Furlong, the Director of Chemicals Business Development for Virent. Don't forget to vote at the end of his presentation. Thank you.
Good morning and thank you. So, my name is Kieran Furlong and I'm from Virent. And today I'd like to talk to you about how Virent is helping secure America's future energy. We live in a distorted world. This is the world through the lens of crude oil. The US has actually disappeared entirely. The countries on this map are sized according to their net crude oil exports. That's Mexico you see bumping up against an emaciated Canada. And key US allies like Australia and Japan have also disappeared. And of course, the part of the world we've been sending US troops to for the past 25 years is greatly enlarged. This imbalance distorts our foreign policy, our economic policy, our energy and climate policy, and of course our balance of trade. So let's take a look at the world through a different lens, that of biocapacity, which is basically a measure of the productivity of the land or how well plants grow. This looks more balanced. If anything, the US is oversized, and friendly nations like those of Western Europe, Brazil, and Japan are prominent. So let's think again about that crucial commodity, crude oil, and why we need it. We want the mobility it offers through liquid transportation fuels. We want the functionality that's provided by petrochemicals and polymers. So what if we could get those benefits, those products, from plants instead? The world would look more like this. It would be a more normal world. And that's where Virent comes in. We are replacing crude oil. We've developed technology where we can make direct replacement drop-in fuels and chemicals identical to the ones that we get from crude oil today. And we do this using the bio-based resources I was just speaking about. Our technology was invented, developed, and patented here in the United States. The initial discovery was made by our founders at the University of Wisconsin in Madison, and they started the company Virent, which now employs 85 people in Madison, Wisconsin. This is a picture of our demonstration facility in Madison. For those of you acquainted with petroleum refineries and chemical plants, it will look familiar. This is the chemical engineer's solution to producing fuels from bio-based feedstocks. We do this using a continuous catalytic process in which we use temperature, pressure, and catalysts to convert these plant-based materials into hydrocarbons. We utilize hydrogen, readily available from low-cost US natural gas, to greatly enhance our yield. In fact, the bioforming technology has a yield which is 1.5 times that of a fermentation process, such as the production of ethanol. And I'd like to clarify one thing here as well. In Washington, D.C., biofuels are often equated with ethanol. So let me state for the record, we do not make ethanol. We make a superior product. We make hydrocarbons which can be directly used in our existing infrastructure today. We've demonstrated this technology using a wide variety of feedstocks. First generation sugars and starches, but also second generation lignocellulosic or woody materials, such as pine wood, corn stover or straw, and bagasse. And with these raw materials, we've made products such as our biogasoline, which has been used by the Ferrari Formula One team in competition over the last 4 years, which we think is a great testament to the quality of our fuel. We've made biojet fuel, which is being tested by the US Navy and US Air Force with positive results. And we've made the building blocks for everyday consumer products, like the plastic bottle you'll get your water or soda in. And we've achieved this by attracting and working with great partners. Cargill, an agribusiness giant, and Shell, an oil major, are our largest investors. Shell, in fact, started as a development partner, but we're so excited about the technology, they led our last fundraising round. And they've since taken our technology and integrated it with some of their own in a purpose-built pilot plant at their facility in Houston. And the goal of that project is to get to full-scale fuels production. We have a number of projects with the US Department of Energy. We've worked with other government agencies. In fact, the Secretary of Agriculture, Tom Vilsack, visited Virent last year precisely because he sees the great opportunity this holds for US farmers and the potential it has for rural development as we grow our own fuels and chemicals here on US soil. The Coca-Cola company is our lead partner on our chemical side, and you may wonder what Coke bottles have got to do with reducing our reliance on crude oil. I'll get to that. But first, let's talk about fuels. Virent has a unique proposition for biofuels. With our platform technology, we can produce direct replacements for the 3 major liquid transportation fuels, gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel. And we can do this because we make mixtures of molecules that are identical to the fuels we use today from petroleum. Let me show you an example of that. So this analysis here, really I just want you to look at the shape of those curves. On the top you'll see a standard jet fuel, which is produced from petroleum, and below Virent's biojet fuel. And you'll see they're very, very similar. Each of those dots on those charts is an individual molecular species. We have hundreds, if not thousands, of those in both of those fuels. And it's this mixture that gives us the characteristics we care about in fuels: flash point, freeze point, and so on. So whether you're a farmer trying to start your tractor on a cold spring morning in Minnesota, or an F-18 Hornet pilot trying to reignite an engine while in flight, it's this mixture that matters. And that's another point of differentiation for our technology. Competing fermentation-based technologies will typically produce a single molecule. That would be one dot on these charts. So obviously, that would need significant additional processing before it begins to approximate these fuels. And so why are these fuels a mixture? Well, that's what you get in a barrel of oil. Besides your fuels, diesel and jet fuel and so on, you get in a barrel of oil, there's a wide variety of other products, most of them in that other products category you see in the middle of the barrel. There's also a wide variety of values of those products. Some products you get from crude oil are actually worth less than what you started with. Things like tar. Yeah, sure, it has a use, but you really don't want to make it if you don't have to. And then you have the fuels, which are a step up in value from the crude oil. Something has to pay for the petroleum refining. But if you look across to the right of the chart there, in green you'll see some of the petrochemicals I mentioned before, and we're seeing a significant step up in value now. And these are large volume products. Paraxylene, the main chemical of interest for Virent, is a tens of millions of tons per year product around the world. Now look at that value chart, and if I flip that around, it begins to look more like an innovation cost curve. Any disruptive technology in its infancy will start with higher costs, but as the technology matures and scales up, the costs come down. Think about the first flat screen TV you bought and what you might pay for one today. And that happens for processes too. So in order to get to that future of low-cost competitive fuels, we want to sell the higher value chemicals first. And to do that, we need to rely on companies who see a profitable reason for adopting a new course. And a great example of that is the Coca-Cola company. Since launching their plant bottle, partially bio-based packaging in November 2009, they've seen a great response from their consumers. Their brand of bottled water Dasani, since its launch in plant bottle, has seen growth of 10 to 12% per year. And that's in a market where the average growth rate is 2%. Now, the Coca-Cola system is the single largest user of PET resin in the world. And they want to move all of that over the plant bottle and all to 100% bio-based. That will have a significant impact. And that's where Virent comes in, because our technology gives Coca-Cola a route to do that. And that's why they're supporting why they're accelerating our commercialization activities. Now, 15 billion bottles themselves, they're 100% bio-based. That already has an impact. That's around 2 million barrels of fossil fuels between crude oil and natural gas. And there's much more to go. But the real benefit here is the gateway it provides. The work with Coca-Cola is a great example of how we can use higher value chemicals to scale up to cost competitive fuels. So hopefully one of the things you'll take away from this talk is that crude oil is not just about fuels. There's a wide variety of products that we use every day and that our troops use every day that come from crude oil. A water bottle is a quotidian example, but if you look at the equipment this Marine has, many of these pieces of equipment also derive from crude oil. And there's an irony in that. As we deploy our troops around the world to protect our access to crude oil, they're wearing it as well. Now, by 2020, we anticipate that bioforming plants will be displacing 7 to 8 million barrels of crude oil per year. But there's potential for much, much more than that. Here in America, we have incredible resources at our disposal. On biomass, our farms are the most productive in the world, and we have a large forestry industry which is looking for new opportunities as our paper usage declines. The innovation coming from American universities and entrepreneurial companies is world-beating, and Virent's a good example of that. And our technology can utilize our newly found abundance of natural gas and marry that to our abundance of biomass. We can utilize the advantage of our huge existing infrastructure, because our fuels can go directly in pipelines and power the vehicles that current petrol fuels do. Virent's technology brings together these strengths of the US economy. With it, we can reduce our reliance on crude oil and pave the way for continued economic security and prosperity. Thank you very much.